Hi guys, welcome to another episode here for the TRIA website. I am here with Corey. Corey works for Advanta IRA, and Corey was our speaker for September, and he spoke about self-directed today, and the topic got so many questions and so much attention that I wanted to bring him back online and answer some of your other questions. So Corey, welcome.
Hey, thank you very much, Eric. Appreciate you having me on again, and very happy to answer these questions for the audience.
Thank you so much. Again, first of all, coming out all the way from Charlotte to Raleigh. And man, it was a long presentation. It went a bit longer than I anticipated based on the questions from the audience. I hope you made it back safe.
Yeah, it was a nice, quiet drive through the night to get back home, but I did make it back safe. Thank you.
Awesome. Hey, Corey, before we get started, who's Corey? What is your background? What are you doing? And yeah, introduce yourself.
Yeah, so Corey Deharsh, I work with Advanta IRA. I've been with the company just over 8 years now. Actually, a few days after I spoke in person at the event was my 8-year anniversary with Advanta. But above and beyond that, I've always worked in the financial space. I put myself through college as a bank teller and then found Advanta shortly after college. So even through high school, I was taking accounting related courses. I have a management degree, business management degree. I was very close to getting an accounting degree as well before I decided I just didn't want to be an accountant. So I've always had a passion and an interest for financial literacy. And that's really lent itself to working with Advanta IRA, where what I do now is really just educate people on the power of these self-directed retirement accounts, where you can actually pull the money in your retirement account out of the stock market and publicly traded assets and really apply it to more unique investment strategies that you personally may have a better interest in or a higher scope of understanding as to how to drive better returns. And that's kind of the nature of the beast. Self-directed accounts are really set up for any alternative investment. But to be honest, about half of our client base are real estate investors. So we tend to lean a little bit in the favor of networking with real estate investors and doing these types of educational content.
Awesome. Yeah, and of course, the reason that you came to TRIA and the reason that you're here is I personally use Advanta and have great success. I use my self-directed IRA to invest in real estate. So I'm I guess part of your 30% of your investors and invest in real estate. But for those that are watching this, are listening, what is a self-directed IRA, and how is a self-directed IRA different than just a standard traditional IRA? If that's even a thing.
So a self-directed IRA is one where the self-direct part is really taking the place of the fiduciary or financial advisor that's in place for many of the other IRAs. So when someone has a standard traditional Roth, SEP simple IRA with a managed custodian, that custodian serving as a fiduciary or financial advisor, basically either choosing the specific investments that retirement account invests into, or maybe giving you a limited list of different asset classes that they've already done due diligence on and thus will allow you to invest into. That's where you see some of those managed custodians kind of try to use the language of self-direction to try to kind of, for lack of a better term, manipulate people into thinking that they have a self-directed product. But a truly self-directed retirement account is one with an administrator like Advanta, where we simply follow the IRS's rules and regulations and let our clients basically invest into any asset class they would like. So that is to say, a client can come to us and say, hey, I want to go buy 123 Main Street down the road from my house as a rental property. Or, hey, I want to go issue a private loan to this other investor that I'm trying to help out. Or, hey, I want to go precious metals or cryptocurrency or set up an LLC. If you go with those type of assets, those alternative assets to a non-self-directed account, the custodian's basically going to say, no, you can't do that. Here's the index fund, here's stocks, bonds, mutual funds. This is what you can invest into. So that's what a self-directed account is. It's more freedom, flexibility, and your administrator, like in Advanta's case, is there to keep you in line with the IRS's rules and regulations and really be experts in what that is so that we can guide you appropriately from that standpoint, but let you take your own control and guide yourself as to what investments and your own due diligence that you want to participate through.
Yeah, and you guys have saved me plenty of times from stuff that I wanted to do, and that's not wasn't allowed by the IRS. So tell me, we're talking about 123 Main Street. Let's use that as an example. Say that I have set up an self-directed IRA account. I run into 123 Main Street. My LLC wants to buy it, and my IRA wants to put up the funds. Is that possible, or what are some of the restrictions in that case, or how could I buy 123 Main Street if I was wanting to use my IRA fund, self-directed IRA funds?
So just a quick point of clarification, Eric, is your LLC owned through your IRA, or that's a separate entity completely from your IRA account? Because LLCs can be held in an IRA. I just need to make that distinction.
No, completely separate. So the two don't know each other. The only the connecting factor is that I'm both the single member owner of the LLC, and I'm of course the beneficiary of the IRA account.
Okay, got it. So to answer your question, you can't necessarily do what you just described because of IRS rules, and I'll explain those thoroughly. And there's also a workaround to really accommodate almost the same action plan and strategy within the IRS rules. So the way the IRS rules are stated, your retirement account can't put a down payment on behalf of yourself or your LLC to purchase a piece of real estate. It has to be co-invested at the outset of the investment, where the dollar amount that the retirement account brings to the table is going to take a commensurate percentage of ownership in the actual asset. So that's to say, if you need to split it 80% by your LLC or you personally and 20% from your retirement account, it can't go in as a down payment to be reimbursed. It has to go in as an 80-20 split on that property, where the deed of title is going to list the retirement account holding that 20% ownership. And moving forward with that deal, any expenses that have to go out have to be paid based on that ownership split, and any income generated has to be divided by that income split. So your IRA is going to receive 20% of all income that it generates and pay out all 20% of the expenses that come up. The only other aspect really in that grand scheme scenario is if you're going to be utilizing leverage. So let's just say for your 80% of taking down that property, you also might need to take out a loan or, leverage the asset to do so. That's perfectly fine, but there are some extra stipulations. Anytime a retirement account's involved in the purchase of real estate, what's required, even if the retirement account's not going to be the borrower, just because the retirement account's on the deed of title and ownership, is that there is non-recourse lending terms in place. And also, with that in mind, in effect, there is at that point the opening of the IRA being subject to UDFI tax, or unrelated debt financed income tax. So those are some key factors when someone just brings up the general scenario that you just have, that I very thoroughly go through and make sure these people understand, so that they're doing the modifications to their underwriting and to the plan for that deal, because the non-recourse lending and the UDFI tax are going to change the grand scope of your income profile once that deal is actually underway. So if it makes that much of a change that deal is no longer feasible for you, understood. If not, great, move forward with the deal. But again, that's part of the investor's due diligence as a self-directed account holder.
Awesome. So I guess if I understand that correctly, in simple words, for just a simple guy like myself, if my IRA was to purchase 123 Main Street solely, that will be an option as well. But I could how I could buy the property just with my IRA.
Yeah, you could buy it just with your IRA. You could buy it with your IRA partnering with yourself or other individuals or other IRAs. The main thing there is, in most cases, that's going to be a cash purchase where leverage is not involved. If leverage comes into play, then you're adding the additional ripple or effect of non-recourse lending having to be applied, and the UDFI tax having to be associated with the leveraged portion of the investment. But otherwise, your IRA and any partners it chooses to transact with can go out and buy properties cash, hold them for rental properties, use additional proceeds in those various accounts or based on those ownerships to do fix and flips. There's a lot of different strategies you could partake in.
Awesome. Now, let's talk about setting up a self-directed IRA account. I always thought that, that is a bunch of headache, paperwork. and it takes a while. But when I quit my W-2 and I converted my my account over from my employer to you guys, it was a matter of days and very simple. So the question is, can I say I still have a W-2 job, right? I'm very happy with where I work, but I'm building up my account, and some of that I want to start investing elsewhere rather than what my IRA account holder, Fidelity, or whatever dictates it goes to. Can I, while working for my employer, and I'm not looking to leave, can I take some of those funds that I've built up and put them with Advanta, or what is the process there?
So just to cut back to the beginning of it, setting up a self-direct account's really quick. Our application takes about 15 minutes. We get the account open. From the day the account's open, the IRS just has a 7-day window before you're allowed to start investing. So even if you've got a property under contract or maybe a syndication deal that you're looking to get into, we can typically get your account open and get ready to fund that deal within about 7 days. Now, getting the account funded is the part that may take a little bit longer depending on where your funds are coming from and how they're coming in, what type of account they're currently in. So anyone that has an existing IRA can do a simple, what's called a custodian to custodian transfer. You fill out a transfer form for the company you want to take in the money. They submit it to the company currently holding the money. Roughly takes a week or so. What you've brought up in this scenario is someone that may still be employed with a W-2, not looking to leave that W-2, but ideally tap into some of that money from that employer-sponsored plan. And that is a very unique circumstance. It's always case by case. And it really depends on the agreement between the employer and the retirement company they're utilizing. So what needs to be allowed in that scenario is what's called a in-service rollover. So this individual with the W-2 would need to reach out to either their employer benefits department or even the retirement company that 401k, 403b, whatever employer-sponsored plan type is, and verify, am I eligible for an in-service rollover? The answers are usually this. Yes, you're eligible. Complete a distribution request, do a rollover to the new plan. No, you're not eligible. You will not be eligible until you reach age 59 and a half, for example, standard retirement age, or you've been with this company for 10 or 15 years, or the balance of your plan in itself is, X number, and that means you can take out 1/5 of X to go start self-directing. But again, there's no black and white rule there. That is always put in place in the agreement between the retirement company that your employer is using and the employer themselves, if you can do what's called the in-service rollover.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I know a lot of people are looking for that answer, because a lot of people that want to invest are super happy in their current job, right? But they want to start investing. As a matter of fact, I know that 16 million of my money that I've borrowed from other people came from IRA accounts like Advanta. So it comes from other. So a lot of people are investing through their IRA accounts in real estate and getting a good return. Awesome. What is the annual contribution I can make to my IRA account? And that's two questions, I guess. Sorry. What is the annual contribution, and should I do what are the two IRA accounts I should invest in, and what is the one that you prefer?
So the annual contribution for this year, which we're sitting at the tail end of 2024, is $7,000 if you're under age 50, and you get $1 extra $1,000 if you're over age 50. I believe they are upping that by $500 or $1,000 for next tax filing year 2025. Don't quote me on that. I don't have it up in front of me and didn't look it up. But prior to COVID, they were basically upgrading it about $500 a year. When COVID happened, they kind of put a hiatus on that, but they just recently got back on track with increasing that annual contribution limit year to year. So in general, if you just are a W-2 employee and are starting to or looking to contribute more money into an IRA, that's going to be your contribution threshold. That's separate from 401k contributions. They have a little bit more niche of rules, because you can have an employee contribute into the plan. You can have an employer do a deferral into the plan. And then there's some kind of extra, what's called like backdoor contribution rules. So 401ks or other employer sponsored type plans have much higher annual contribution limits. Anyone could reach out to me directly. I've got a good list and catalog of breaking those down for you. And then you asked what my preferred plan type would be or is. Happy to give you an answer there, but prior to that, I do have to kind of give a brief disclaimer. I'm not a tax professional, legal professional, or financial advisor. So this is just my personal opinion. I'm not speaking on behalf of Advanta or on behalf of any capacity as, an expert in this criteria. But my personal retirement accounts, both my 401k and my IRA, are Roth. And the reason for that is because I'm relatively young, just about 33 right now, just turned 33 a couple months ago. And my theory behind it is that I want to pay the taxes on this money while it's as little as possible. And I anticipate growing that money and investing it until I'm 60, 70 years old. So why would I defer the taxes on that $6,000 or $7,000 I've been contributing each year for the past few years, and then have to pay taxes on all of that when I turn it into hundreds of thousands of dollars and start to need to utilize it in my 70s or 80s when I retire? So my personal theory, based on my age and based on my investment goals and strategies, is to pay taxes on the money when I put it into the retirement account, anticipating that I'm going to grow it over the next few decades. And I'd rather not pay taxes on what I grow it into.
I love it. And that's why I am converting my other account into a Roth account, which is a very small account, but I liked it. I like it. And thank you for the disclaimer. Everybody knows watching this, but I should have said it as well. This is for entertainment purposes only. Of course, do your own due diligence. TRIA is only here to make you grow and educate you, but you got to do your own education. All right, super. What happens, by the way, because I'm getting a lot of emails from your colleagues that I have reached my limit. So what if I was to make another contribution to my IRA account? What are the taxes? What are the implications then?
Yeah, the over contribution, I mean, really you should be keeping track of that if you're making contributions into your account. There is an over contribution penalty. I believe there used to be ways where you could remove an excess contribution, but there's an over contribution penalty. I believe sometimes it gets counted towards the future year's contribution if you do not remove it, but I believe the penalty is like 10% on whatever you've contributed over your annual limit. And then if I'm not mistaken, that also gets counted, whatever that amount is, towards the future year's contribution. But I could be slightly wrong on that. I haven't dusted up on that in a little bit of time. That's kind of just off the back of my mind.
What are some of, so the next question we have, and if I look to the left, that's the screens where I have some of the questions, is what are some of the pros and cons for a self-directed IRA? I know you and I love it, right? I as soon as I retired from my W-2, I converted that account. So you and I are definitely advocates for a self-directed IRA, but we gotta be transparent here on this channel and give our viewers the absolute best information. What are some of the pros? Maybe we already spoken about those, but what are some of the cons of opening a self-directed IRA?
So I feel like I maybe covered some of the pros earlier in the conversation, but the main thing that I consider to be a pro is the access and ability to take these dollars and invest them into asset classes that you don't have to trust someone else or lean on someone else, whether it's a large company or a home office that you're leaning on. You can, with your own area of expertise, invest in asset classes that you have familiarity with and have a better range to drive higher returns. That is one of the key things. Again, we see a lot of real estate investors, whether they're in the threshold of jumping ship from the W-2 or just doing it as their quote side hustle, tap into their own retirement accounts to boost that kind of capital that they have in their pocket through the retirement account and the tax benefits there. The cons, I would say, to be honest, are the same thing though, that you have more control, you have direct access, and you do not have a financial advisor or fiduciary looking over your shoulder telling you what you could or should or can or cannot do. Can and cannot, I guess, is our role based on the IRS rules and what we, convey to our clients. Yeah. But, you might not do thorough due diligence and go lend money out to someone that defaults on a loan. You might buy a property that's got tons of issues after you make the purchase, or, you know, there's a lot of different things that could happen. And if that does happen, there's no one else you can turn and look to blame, because you are the self-directed investor. You're signing all the paperwork that you've done your own due diligence and you firmly believe in the investment and so forth. So I would say that's the biggest con, is that there's with greater power comes greater responsibility, from, you know, Spider-Man.
Yeah, yeah, love it,
It's
love it. Yeah, and I always say, so the reason I have a self-directed IRA is Warren Buffett said it, right? Wall Street is the only place where people in a Ferrari take advice from people on a bike. So the reason I mention that is, like, you know, like, you cannot always trust what the people on Wall Street are giving you for advice. So perfect, Corey. Then with that, I want to open it up and say, are there any other questions or topics or really things that you think our viewers, our people here on the TRIA website or should really know? Anything that parting words that you think are important for our viewers?
Yeah, I just say that the asset classes are very wide and robust. The only things you're not allowed to invest into with the self-directed account is a life insurance policy or hard to value collectibles like antiques, fine wine, artwork, things that are subjective. So when we're just talking about real estate, and I'm speaking specifically to a real estate investing group, there's going to be people in this audience that are interested in jumping into limited partnership syndications, people jumping into fix and flips, people jumping into short-term, mid-term, long-term rental properties, vacation style rentals, mobile home units, or even mobile home parks, private lending to other investors that are doing real estate. I know you guys have a few private lending sponsors in the group that I connected with and had great conversations with. So whatever it is you're looking to do as a real estate investor, if you have funds in your retirement account, you can likely do that with those funds. You just need a company like Advanta that's an expert in those strategies and can kind of guide you a little bit as to how to apply the appropriate strategy for your investment goal. And then you're unlocking whatever potential capital you have in your own retirement account to do more of that investing, to do more networking, bring more dollars to the table when you're networking with people trying to do deals together. So just reach out. I'm always happy to have conversations and help people, even if it doesn't convert to you opening an account with us. I at least love to do that because I'm bringing great education in my resources that ideally helps you. And if it doesn't work out for you, tell your friend, tell a family member, tell someone else that I can also benefit and help. Again, I've always had a vested interest, even since high school, in financial literacy and expanding people's knowledge about things. One aspect of that I didn't really mention earlier that I'll just bring up kind of as part of the conclusion. I didn't grow up with financial literacy. Like, my parents were very young when they had me. I really didn't have any money or anything growing up. I put myself through college. And in doing all of that, I realized that I do have this passion, not only to help people in my own age bracket and people younger than me to grow up with a little bit more financial literacy, but also people older than me that maybe have the money and just don't know how to really use it, or don't know how to put it to work as strongly or as best they can. They may be experts at some field or some industry or some aspect of investing, but just don't know how they can really grease the wheels with their own retirement accounts in this case scenario. So however I can help, always happy to do so. If you're into real estate investing, there's definitely ways to do it with your retirement funds.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, and what I would say to that is, like, all my lenders and my self-directed IRA that is funding other deals, my investment is always secured with the investment. So in my case, always a property, right? So if Corey was to lend money to me, he as a lender will be in the first position as a security against the property. So make sure that if you do use your IRA accounts, that you get some type of security. And if you don't, do understand that the risk is super incredible high, and you might never see that money back, right? So I always ask for security when I lend my money, and I always give people a security when I borrow the money. I will make sure that if you reach out to this channel and you hit me up and you want to come in contact with Corey, I'll bring you in contact with Corey. We're gonna tag him, of course, on the social media platforms that he is part of, so that you can also reach out to him directly. Maybe he's not on the social medias where this is posted, then you can reach out to me and I'll connect you with Corey. Corey, Thank you so much. I really appreciate you jumping on. This is now the second recording that we're doing with Corey. Plus, he was on stage at the TRIA live event. And if you want to see what our next speakers are for TRIA, go to the tria.com, TREIA.com website. And we have a lineup of a multitude of different speakers coming up all the way already into April of 2025. Corey, I really appreciate your time and thank you so much.
Of course, Eric. Thank you so much again for the invitation. Hopefully, I've been able to share some great information with the audience and look forward to speaking with people and helping people further.
Thank you so much. Absolutely.